Alchemist of your creation. This card is all about that inner alchemy, inner transformation, and establishing that inner balance within you. What is my biggest blockage which I am facing right now in? I see these enchainments on the hands. It's kind of like the hands are chained. I have a very small responsibility level, and that's what makes me feel that unhappy. That's my blockage actually. It's a normal thing when the employee inquires slightly more responsibility. It's just being tested. Can I own it or not? What can you learn from those opposite personality type, which is a shy person? We can learn something out of that and balance ourselves. So how can we establish that balance within us, being inspired by this card, that inner balance, being inspired by the card Temperance? Because guess what? Quite soon we will meet this guy, because it is a natural sequence of events. Once we establish that inner balance, we do all our shadow work. And those of you guys who are doing that shadow work, remember the natural consequence of doing the shadow work, it's meeting the guy, the devil, afterwards, right? So we want to clean all our sense and all our body in order to be so balanced that whenever we see any kind of addictions, enchainments into our lives further on, based on that shadow work which we are doing, we will be in that really playful and at the same time balanced state like this angel here. All right, so what are the questions which we can ask ourselves to get prepared for that meetup? So here is the set. What is my biggest blockage which I am facing right now in? You will see that this set of questions is literally that shadow work questions. Those of you who are doing it regularly, you will understand, right? Those of you who still are not doing it, I am inviting you here and there to do that work, because it's quite an interesting process, the self-digging process. You will become that so-called like alchemist of your creation. This card is all about that inner alchemy, inner transformation, and establishing that inner balance within you. So what is my biggest blockage which I'm facing right now? Let's say in and blank. My relationships, or my career, or my health, whatever it is. If you don't know the answer of that question, you're kind of like blank. Well, in this case, just pull your deck and just start shuffling and pull the card and start looking at that card. Notice the first symbol, the second, the third. You will immediately understand the answer as association to those symbols, which is attributed to that question. Or in case if you don't understand it, just write down the symbols in a consequential order in your tarot journal, and then just wait. Look at those symbols again and again next days, and I promise you the association, the answer in the form association, in the form as association to that symbol will eventually come to you. Now let's say, what is my biggest blockage? And let's imagine that I am shuffling this deck and I pull out this card, Six of Pentacles, right? So Six of Pentacles. So I asked my question, let's say, what is my biggest blockage which I am facing right now in my career? And then I see these enchainments on the hands, right? So it's kind of like the hands are chained. So I don't know what it means right now, and then I can put it into my tarot journal. That's the first thing which I noticed, and then I keep thinking about this, keep looking at it, until one time, let's say you have a particular situation that your hands are kind of like, you have very small amount of responsibilities at your work, and you feel like you're literally enchained with your hands, and then just like, oh gosh, that's what it is. I have a very small responsibility level, and that's what makes me feel that unhappy. That's my blockage actually. Maybe I can go to my boss and I can talk to him or her and say, hey, I'm just willing to take more responsibility in here, here, and here. Can I prove it to you? And then you see what they answer, because guess what? Many times your boss, he or she, they love when you take responsibility. It's a normal thing. If they don't want it that you do it, you just, either you didn't prove it to them before, but you can say, give it to at least more, let me prove it to you. If they are not willing to give you more of that, then it means something is suffocating specifically in this company. Because remember, it's a normal thing when the employee inquires slightly more responsibility and their boss, just like his boss, is giving more responsibility. It's just being tested. Can I own it or not? It's a normal thing. It's a process of life. If you are suffocating it there, then maybe it's time to start searching for another position, another company, right? But again, I just showed you specifically on this example that enchantment on hands like is the answer for that question, and maybe you couldn't realize it in the beginning, but you figured it out after some while, after looking at it again and again. Now, what is the question number 2? Question number 2, is there something I'm ashamed of? We continue our shadow work process. What is something I'm afraid of or I'm disgusted by? And where does it stem from? And you can do the same thing. If the answers are not coming to you, again, you use your deck. You use your beautiful deck for that, whatever the deck you have. Let it be the Tree Devia Tarot deck or any other deck, but you use the same principle. Now, question number 3. What is my most dominant evident trait? What is my most dominant evident trait of character? Now, to most of us, it should be apparent. Sometimes we may be so stuck into like our life, we cannot even answer that question. In this case, you also can use your deck. But usually you know what is your most evident trait. And then another question, what can I learn from the opposite personality trait? So let me give you the example. For example, you are a very outgoing person. You just love talking to people. You are so just outgoing, friendly to everyone. And you don't really understand when someone is staying like this. Cannot say even a word. You never got these people. You don't even know how they are. They are kind of weirders for you. But what if you would try to understand them, and what can you learn from those opposite personality type, which is a shy person, completely shy person? Which wisdom it can bring into your life? And why do you ask yourself that question? Question number 3 again, which is what is my most dominant evident trait, and what can I learn from the opposite personality trait? You want to establish in you that level of inner balance by inviting that wisdom of studying, researching the opposite trait. Because if we have something truly evident, it's disbalanced. It's too much here. Like we are too talkative. So we are not listening. And then we meet another person who is very shy. He's only listening. He doesn't say a word. Maybe we can learn something out of that and balance ourselves to that inner state of ultimate peace. Because when we just talk, we are just outgoing, that's how we communicate with this world, we may miss something by listening things around us. Alrighty, I hope you were deeply inspired by these questions, and it will help you to instill those wonderful qualities of this card in you, like self-control, inner balance, inner alchemy, and recognizing that cooperation between all of us here.